Before the university entrance exam, I received a love letter from a junior. His name was Shouting Huai. Blinded by love, I gave up my chance to attend Beijing University, choosing instead to stay in our city and fulfill the promise we made together. But just a year later, Shouting Huai enrolled at Beijing University. In an interview, a reporter asked how he managed to improve his scores so dramatically. He said, "There's someone waiting for me at Beijing University." I couldn't let her wait too long. As my body fell, I saw Xiao Dinghuai rushing over. We were about 210 meters apart. The Olympic sprint champion runs 100 meters in 9.76 seconds. He couldn't possibly save me in time. Memories flashed before my eyes. Senior year was now just a blur of scattered fragments. The name Shouting Huai no longer stirred any feelings in me. I just couldn't let go of my grandmother, my friends, and everything else. Boom. As life slipped away, my body lay on the cold concrete, blood pooling beneath me. My soul hovered of, watching as Qiao Jia stood there pale and trembling. Shouting Huai ran to her and pulled her into his arms. I'd had a bad feeling about those two for a long time. Turns out, I wasn't wrong. The story of me being pushed off the building probably started a week ago. 4 years later, I saw Xiao Dinghuai again under the stage lights. I stood among the crowd, surrounded by screams of excited fans. It was the Beijing University auditorium, holding its anniversary celebration. Shouting Huai was performing a song he'd written himself, Promise. With flawless features and a warm, seductive voice, he looked like the male lead of a romance novel, while everyone else faded into the background. When we promised to walk together, we feared no hardship. As he sang that line, his deep gaze lingered in one direction. He was looking at Xiao Jia. "Oh my God, it's the academic power couple." Fans screamed, "Dream couple come true." Someone shouted. Yes, they had overcome all odds to be together. How laughable. They trampled over me for their so-called love. Back in high school, Xiao Jia and I were both top students, personally mentored by the principal of Nanjing High School. I ranked first in our year. She was always second. Beijing University had always been our shared goal, but only one spot was left in the physics experimental class. I believed we were just competitors, and everything would be a fair game. I'd always greeted her when we passed in the hallway. Looking back now, her eyes always looked annoyed and defensive whenever I said hello. Now, amid the crowd and Oppo's cheers, Xiao Jia walked gracefully onto the stage to present him flowers. She wore a perfectly tailored evening dress, delicately made up, completely opposite me, in a hoodie, baggy pants, and greasy, unwashed hair. Shouting Huai took the bouquet and, seizing the chance, hugged her a little. The crowd roared even louder. Watching them, I felt nothing. Back in school, friends used to secretly call me a robot, a wooden block, a nerd. But I never cared. Only those who mattered could stir my heart. And once, Shouting Huai was one of the few who did. Oh look, Shouting Huai and Xiao Jia were walking out of the auditorium. He held the flowers carefully, his gaze soft as he looked at her, the kind of look I'd never received. And suddenly, his eyes met mine. The world went quiet. His peach blossom eyes froze. Shouting Huai recognized me. I didn't expect such a strong reaction when he saw me again. Luckily, Xiao Jia broke the awkward silence before he could. "You're Zhang Wenwen." "Zhang Wenjing," I corrected. She covered her mouth in fake surprise. "It's been ages. What are you doing here? Didn't you go to Nanjing University?" "Did I remember that wrong?" I replied calmly, "You didn't. Back then, you were the only one from our school who got into Beijing." A flash of smugness crossed her eyes. "I remember you used to dream of joining the physics program here." "Such a shame," she said. "Are you here just to visit?" She sounded like a textbook green tea girl, every word aimed straight at my chest. I nodded. "That's right." She smiled even brighter. "Need us to show you around." Then, before I could respond, she added, "But the professor's waiting for us in the lab, so we probably won't have time." "The new particle and nuclear physics lab?" I asked suddenly. Xiao Jia majored in physics too. She quickly answered, "Yes." But her eyes wavered for a moment. As I watched their backs fade away, I couldn't help but smile. I was really looking forward to what they'd do next. From the moment he saw me until they walked away, Shouting Huai hadn't said a word, not even an apology. But I figured I and Oppos did get the chance to make him apologize eventually. Didn't have to wait long. Soon after, Shouting Huai suddenly came back looking for me. He grabbed my wrist tightly, yanking me so hard I nearly fell. What are you doing here? His voice was cold. We ended a long time ago. We never even started. What's there to end? In that interview, the reporter once asked how he had improved so rapidly. He'd answered, "There's someone waiting for me at Beijing University." I couldn't let her wait any longer. What a noble kind of love he had. Huh. If he hadn't said anything, no one would have known. But the one who actually helped him improve his scores behind the scenes was me. Xiao Dinghua never once mentioned all those sleepless nights I spent tutoring him. To someone like him, I was just the girl who stayed up late a few times to help him study. The one who held his hand in secret a few times, though he never seemed very into it. The one who comforted him whenever he got bad midterm results. The one who patiently marked and corrected all his mistakes, line by line. But I remember it clearly. That sunset afternoon, we locked pinkies and promised to meet again at Nanjing University. Nanjing was a good university. It just wasn't Beijing. I thought I'd found a path that would let us both have what we wanted. But in the end, it was all just a joke, and I was the punchline. I stared straight into Xiao Dinghuai's eyes. For a split second, he faltered, then looked away. "Zhang Wenjing," he said coldly, "we don't belong in the same world anymore. Stop following me." His voice was loud enough that students nearby turned to look. Isn't that the girl chasing after Xiao Shun? She doesn't know he's taken. How shameless. She must be from another uni think she can compete with Xiao Jia. Xiao Dinghua leaned in and said, "Did you hear that? This is Beijing University. It's not a place for people like you." I raised an eyebrow and gave him a flat smile. Beijing doesn't belong to your family either. Just a little longer, and he'd understand exactly why I was here. A few days later, the new particle and nuclear physics lab officially opened, and I was standing beside the professor. Xiao Jia stood below the stage, her face cycling between green and red. Xiao Dinghua was next to her, staring up at me in shock. "Looks like the tables have turned, haven't they?" I had been personally invited by the professor of Beijing's physics department. I was the one on stage. They could only stand below and look up. This was the stage I truly longed for. To me, the university entrance exam was never the final destination. A lot of people don't get the results they want. They don't make it into their dream school. So what? If you didn't make it the first time, just keep trying. Youth is made for trial and error. Different paths offer different views. But I never imagined Xiao Jia would be that insane. That night, after asking me to meet her, she pushed me off the building. "Why did you get into the lab? Why?" she screamed, completely unhinged. The area had no surveillance cameras. She quickly deleted all our messages about meeting up. Then she threw herself into Xiao Dinghuai's arms, crying and mumbling nonsense about how it was an accident, then suddenly saying I fell on my own. Classic White Lotus act. Truly flawless. Xiao Dinghua hesitated at first, but in the end, he pulled her in and held her tightly. "It's okay," he whispered to her. "I know you didn't mean it. My gut had been right all along. These two had been involved for years. 3 years ago, to get Xiao Jia into Beijing on early admission, he didn't hesitate to use me. 3 years later, he didn't even blink while helping her fake evidence. I hovered furious, watching everything unfold, yet unable to do anything. Still, maybe somewhere in this universe, there really are eyes watching with fairness. Because when I opened my eyes again, I was back in my final year of high school. Emotions surged through me as I suddenly stood up from my chair. The loud scrape of the desk startled the whole class into silence. Our teacher looked over, frowning. "Are you all right?" "My stomach hurts," I lied. "If you're not feeling well, you can go home and rest." I quickly shook my head and sat down. I followed the lecture, scanning the blackboard. And slowly I realized I had returned to the exact day when Xiao Dinghua first confessed to me. Sure enough, after class, the junior year Xiao Dinghua showed up at our door, still putting on that shy, harmless face, holding a love letter in his hand. People started teasing him, hyping him up to confess. He wasn't just smart, he was attractive, too. He was the dream guy for half the girls in school. Online, people even voted him secretly as our school's top crush. His cheeks were red, his hands shaking as he held the letter for me. The teasing grew louder. Some even offered to keep watch for teachers so he could confess in peace. Knowing I couldn't avoid it, I stepped outside. Down the hallway, Xiao Jia and her best friend stood watching from a distance, glancing my way with expectant eyes. I knew what she was waiting for. Because the truth was, The letter wasn't meant for me. After Xiao Dinghuai's interview aired, I received an anonymous message. You poor fool. Don't you realize the love letter you cherished wasn't even meant for you? It was true. In that letter, he described the girl he liked having waist-length hair when they first met in 10th grade. But I had short hair back then. I only grew it out later, after my grandma bought me pretty hair ties. From beginning to end, it was all a setup. A game. A tool. He shoved the letter into my hand like it meant nothing, eyes always fixed on Xiao Jia. It had all been planned, right from the start. Back then, I was too naive, too buried in books to notice anything. The thought alone now makes me sick to my stomach. At this moment, Xiao Dinghuai was still standing there, eyes glowing with a strange intensity, almost too bright. Something about him felt off. Zhang Wenjing. I like you. I froze. What the hell was happening? This wasn't the script. Things were supposed to go differently. Xiao Dinghuai looked genuinely nervous, even sincere. But I no longer cared to figure out if it was real or fake. I know you and Apo's. Busy studying for the university exam. I don't want to bother you, he said. You can give me your answer after the exam. So that's how it is. He was putting on a show. In my last life, he kept showing up before the exam, constantly looking for me. During our evening study sessions, he dragged me to that little forest behind the school. If I refused because I had work to do, he'd ghost me, punishing me with silence. He hijacked my precious weekends, pretending to ask questions, eating up half my time. Once, I gently tried to bring it up. How did he respond? Zhang Wenjing, you're so selfish. All you care about is studying for yourself. You don't think about me at all. You said this problem's easy. Are you looking down on me? Seeing my frown, he quickly changed his tone. I'm doing this for us, for our future. I want to go to the same university with you. Even though something felt off deep inside, I had no experience in love. I let myself be coaxed by a few sweet lines. At the time, he was only in the top 10 of the class. If he wanted to get into the same university as me, he had to work much harder. Snapping out of the memory, I cut him off. No need to wait till after the exam. I can answer you right now. Xiao Dinghuai stared at me, full of anticipation. He always knew I liked him. He didn't know why, maybe, but he knew, and had no shame using it to his advantage. I looked straight at him and spoke clearly, word by word. Xiao Dinghuai, I don't like you. And right now, the most important thing for both of us is studying, not falling into brainless romance. The excitement on his face vanished. He looked at me, stunned. No way. That's not possible. You must be confused. News of what happened spread to my homeroom teacher within the hour. He called me into the office to warn me, told me not to get distracted by love just because I had good grades. I nodded obediently. And the letter? He asked. Let me keep it for you. I'll return it after the exam. I threw it in the trash, I replied casually. He paused for a second. Right. That works too. The rest of the day was a blur of classes. I didn't even have time to fully process the fact that I had been reborn. Finally, the end-of-day bell rang. My desk mate, Chen Shuang, asked to walk home together, but I declined. I ran alone toward the forest behind the school. The wind rushed past my ears, my heart pounding in my chest. This was when I truly felt I had come back. I was alive again. I wanted to scream it out loud, but worried someone might hear me. I held it in as long as I could. And then, I couldn't anymore. I screamed. So loud, the leaves above trembled. But just then, a noise cut through my voice. I looked up and saw someone sitting in the tree. His eyes opened slowly, his whole posture lazy and relaxed. His messy blonde hair was definitely against school rules, and the earring in his left ear wasn't helping his case either. But no denying it, he was gorgeous. A high-nose bridge, sharp jawline like the straight lines I used to draw in math class. You're too loud, he muttered, low and annoyed. I calmly pulled a badge from my pocket. Student, climbing trees is against school rules. He froze for a second, then scoffed. Do you even know who I am? You've got guts, reporting me. You're the bad guy here. Of course I knew. He was Zhang Yikai. Rumor had it his dad was filthy rich and had donated 2 buildings to the school. People also said his real name used to be Zhang Yikai with a weird character, but he changed it himself because it was too hard to write. They said he dated every pretty girl in the city's high schools. Even had a model chasing after him. Basically, he was the notorious wild rich kid. No one dared get close. Even the teachers left him alone. But I knew one thing for sure. He stuttered. Who's making all that noise? A teacher's voice called out nearby. Jiang Yikai's face lit up with glee, then immediately dropped. Before he could react, I climbed up the tree. I passed right by him and reached for the higher branches. I wasn't getting caught. This was the safest place to hide. If Jiang Yikai tattled, he'd get busted too. I'd lived with my grandma my whole life. Climbing fences to collect plastic bottles had made me a master at scaling walls and trees. I gave him a smug smile, challenging. Just as the teacher was about to leave, the world suddenly tilted. I had clearly overestimated the strength of that tree. Losing my balance, I fell. That terrifying, weightless feeling washed over me again, just like the last time in my previous life. Panic consumed me. Was this rebirth just a dream after all? Xiao Jia's twisted face suddenly flashed through my mind. Why? You have no father or mother. What right do you have to be better than me? Do you know how much my family spends each year on my tutors? Shouting Huai had told the police. She probably fell by herself. Xiao Jia was with me the whole time. Those chaotic memories spun endlessly in my head. There was blood everywhere. Someone help me. Bang. Wait. Something's wrong. I'd fallen, but where was the pain? What was going on? The feeling underneath me was firm yet soft. A low groan came from below. Jiang Yikai was lying there. He'd cushioned my fall. I froze, completely stunned. Jiang Yikai glared at me, but then his eyes drooped and, with that slightly pitiful expression, sharp teeth bared, sidelong glance, he looked like a wet puppy. How much longer are you gonna grope me? The moment he spoke, he realized he had stuttered. His lips pressed into a thin line, and his ears turned bright red. The discipline teacher stood there frozen, pointing at us, stammering. Why you two? Call your parents. Immediately, Jiang Yikai's face turned sour. I quickly stood up. Sir, I was helping Jiang study. You think I'm stupid? You're Zhang Wenjing, aren't you? I nodded obediently. Well, I was pretty well known, after all. Top of the entire grade. The teacher's expression softened a little, but he still kept his stern tone. There was a flicker of awkwardness in his face. He looked at Jiang Yikai, then at me, then back at Jiang, back to me again, like he couldn't decide who to scold more. Finally, he sighed. You're in your final year. Focus on your studies. Zhang Wenjing, you know your situation better than anyone. Jiang Yikai has his father to back him up if he fails the exams, but you've got no one. You need to look out for yourself. The school gave you that scholarship so you'd work hard, not get caught up in some idle drama mess. He went on and on. I stayed quiet and listened. His words were harsh, but they weren't wrong. Maybe it was because of my grades. Maybe he just didn't want to deal with Jiang Yikai's family. In the end, he let us off with just a written reflection. No call to our parents. I let out a long sigh of relief. Jiang Yikai glanced sideways at me. Write it. He didn't talk much, except when I got on his nerves earlier. Sure, I replied with a smile. But before I could even finish writing, Shouting Huai showed up again. I tried to pretend I didn't see him and walked straight past. He grabbed my wrist. Zhang Wenjing. He growled. Chen Shuang rushed over and pushed him away. What are you doing? Lately, Shouting Huai had been blocking my way every chance he got. I'd turned him down several times, but he just wouldn't give up. You're lying to yourself, he insisted, eyes full of doubt. You like me? I know you do. He really thought I just hadn't sorted out my feelings. That with time, I'd fall for him again. But he didn't know. In my last life, I had liked him. Since my first year of high school. That summer, my grandmother had gone out to collect bottles. She encountered a group of drunk men. She'd politely asked if she could take some of the bottles, but as soon as she reached out, one of them kicked her. They cursed at her for being an old hag, insulted her, accused her of stealing. The other customers just stared. Some called the police, but no one helped. That was human nature. Then, Shouting Huai appeared. He smashed a bottle over the guy's head. They fought back, hit him. His forehead bled. But he still stood between me and my grandmother, shielding us. That fragile-looking back of his, that moment, it etched itself into my heart. Back then, he seemed braver than any adult, taller than any of those violent men. A secret crush doesn't need to be returned. But when the person you like shows signs of liking you back, it's impossible not to get swept up in it. But all of that is in the past now. People change. I tried to pull my hand away. Break time was almost over. If you like me so much, why are you lying to me? Xiao Dinghuai kept talking, refusing to let go. Then, A tall figure suddenly stepped between us, blonde hair catching the sunlight. Jiang Yikai. He pulled Xiao Dinghuai aside. Don't bully girls. At nearly 1.9 meters tall, with broad shoulders and solid build, he made Xiao Dinghuai look like a sheik cling. But Xiao Dinghuai wasn't like the other students. He didn't back down. Stay out of it. This has nothing to do with you. Jiang Yikai, who rarely spoke, gave a faint smirk and slowly rolled up his sleeve, veins palpitating his muscular arm. Xiao Dinghuai instinctively stepped back. His face flushed with embarrassment. You stutter. Who do you think you are? As soon as those words left his mouth, silence fell. I stared at Xiao Dinghuai, eyes narrowing, confirming what I had suspected. Jiang Yikai had always played the tough guy. Hardly anyone in school knew he stuttered. In my previous life, it wasn't until years later that the media exposed it in a scandal. I was right. Xiao Dinghuai had been reborn too. But I wasn't sure. The Xiao Dinghuai in front of me now. Did he still have the soul of an 18-year-old boy? Or had it already become that of a 30-year-old man? Or maybe even someone in his 80s? So what was this clinging behavior about? Was it real regret? Or was he just trying to retrace the smooth path he had in his previous life? Right now, I didn't have the time to dwell on it. Jiang Yikai stood partly in shadow. The tension was so heavy that no one around dared to even breathe too loudly. He let out a cold laugh, the pressure intensifying. But I noticed his hand, clenched at his side, was slightly trembling. Teacher's coming. The sudden shout shattered the tense atmosphere. Xiao Dinghuai seized the chance to slip away. He only managed to toss one sentence over his shoulder. Zhang Wenjing, my feelings for you are real. The hallway quickly cleared of students. Chen Shuang dragged me back into the classroom. I turned for one last glance. Jiang Yikai was still standing alone in the middle of the schoolyard. Maybe he wasn't the one who isolated himself. Maybe everyone else was the one who shut him out. After that, Jiang Yikai didn't show up again. Following the mock exams, I finally had a bit of time to breathe. I found myself wondering what Jiang Yikai had been doing that day. Chen Shuang told me in a whisper that she'd seen his father enter the principal's office. When he left, the principal's smile was so wide it looked like mille-feuille pastry layers stacked up. Apparently, his dad had come to donate money again. Sweetie, maybe you saw wrong, I said. No way, Chen replied, surprised. I'd never mistake Jiang Yikai's silhouette. But there's no way Jiang Yikai's father would come to school personally. What Chen probably saw was just his assistant. It was the weekend. I went back to school to pick up my error notebook. But somehow, my feet took me toward the little forest again. And sure enough, there he was. Jiang Yikai. He was a boarding student and rarely went home, especially during the final year. He opened one eye at me, then closed it again. That cold attitude, I hadn't seen it in a long time. In my last life, I didn't meet Jiang Yikai properly until university. Though we'd attended the same high school, we were like two parallel lines, never intersecting. After graduation, he went to the US for university. But not long after, he dropped out and returned home. When I visited Mr. Jiang, he called Jiang over. As the richest man in Nansheng, he had funded scholarships for many top students. I was one of them. He wanted me to look after Jiang. I immediately wanted to decline. I was grateful for his help, and I would repay him. Just not by playing babysitter to his son. Before I could say a word, Jiang Yikai burst out. You don't want to control me yourself, so now you want someone else to do it. Mr. Jiang asked me to step out of the room. As I shut the door behind me, I heard a loud thud. Something heavy had been thrown. His young, elegant wife passed by the office. Oh dear, how embarrassing for your classmate, she giggled. Yikai's always been like that. Never listens to his father. Well, what do you expect from the eldest heir of the Jiang family? With a sway of her slender waist, she walked off. Jiang Yikai emerged from the office, looked at me, and said, "Come with me." He sneered. His beautiful lips were stained with blood, a huge bruise swelling on one side of his face. His head was shaved clean. There was a scar on his scalp, but it didn't look new. And I followed him. He gave me an address. Turns out, he wanted to take me to his house. He didn't say a word the whole way. He already looked intimidating. His silence only made him scarier. When we arrived, he froze. It was just a rundown building in an old neighborhood slated for demolition. Rich kids like him probably had never seen places like this. Don't look down on it, I smiled. When this place gets redeveloped, you'll be jealous. That was a lie. This place was never part of any official redevelopment plan. Years ago, there had been rumors, Every household would get new apartments based on headcount. To gain 2 extra homes, my parents had faked a divorce and quickly remarried different people. From a family of 3, we became 5 on paper. But the rumor was false. 1 year later, the city confirmed there'd be no demolition. Their fake divorce became real. They'd already been sick of each other. After that year of pretending for money, they finally split for good. Neither of them ever considered me. They left me behind in a dark, cramped home. Only my grandma stayed. An old woman, nearing the end of her life, left the countryside to care for me in Nanjing. Just as Zhang Yikai was about to leave, my grandma stepped outside. She saw him and lit up. A friend of Wenjing's. Stay for dinner. Zhang Yikai glanced at me. Come on, I said, smiling. Just eat a little. He was the son of my sponsor. I couldn't exactly kick him out. So he stayed. I grabbed rubbing alcohol to clean his wounds, stopping the bleeding and disinfecting it. He looked annoyed. You're going to scare my grandma. I frowned. Her eyesight's bad. That's the only reason she didn't see your face properly just now. He pressed his lips together and mumbled, thanks. His eyebrows were sharp and arched. When I touched the bruised spot, he flinched instinctively. Don't be afraid. I noticed the tips of his ears turning red. His breath brushed lightly against my arm. Zhang Yikai quickly looked away. At dinner, my grandma fussed down, warm and flustered, wiping her hands on her apron over and over. All fresh dishes. I even scrubbed the bowls twice. They're clean. Zhang Yikai ate neatly and silently. Afterward, he offered to do the dishes. But he broke one. A few days later, Zhang Yikai came looking for me at school. He asked if I could tutor him. He had officially returned to his studies. Whether it was because of Mr. Zhang's support or the ridiculously high tuition fees, I didn't have a reason to say no. While tutoring him, I realized something. Zhang Yikai really wasn't smart. Not in the way some teachers and parents like to say boys are clever, but just too naughty to study. No, he genuinely struggled. But his personality was much better than his rough exterior let on. Every time I had to explain something over and over, and he still didn't get it, he'd lower his head, his ears quietly flushing red. He looked just like a puppy who knew he did something wrong. Later, I learned why. He'd had a dangerously high fever when he was little. His mother passed away early. His father was rarely home. Neither the stepmother nor the nanny paid him much attention. By the time the family doctor came, he had already fallen unconscious from the fever. Maybe Zhang's brain had been affected back then. While I was tutoring him, Xiao Dinghuai and Xiao Jia had officially become a couple. The two of them were celebrated as childhood sweethearts, the golden academic couple of Beijing University. They even trended on the hot search. People fawned over their beautiful love. That day, I couldn't focus. Zhang Yikai seemed to notice. He kept insisting we take a break, dragging me off to walk, watch the sunrise, and even took me to a secret hideout from his childhood. Eventually, he got accepted into the physical education department at Nanjing University. That same year, I was recommended straight into Beijing's physics program for research. The day he got his acceptance letter, he came to find me. Zhang Wenjing, he said softly. It sounded like he had practiced my name countless times. It was both awkward and strangely smooth. He told me there was something he wanted to say. His puppy-like eyes drooped low, avoiding mine. I could tell he'd just gotten a haircut and even caught a faint whiff of cologne. But that day, he accidentally drank too much and blacked out drunk. The professor had invited me to Beijing early for a campus visit, so I left the next morning. What happened after that, no one saw coming. That's where my past life ended, at Beijing University. I still had a few unread voice messages from Grande on my phone. It's really cold in Beijing. Wenjing, remember to dress warmly. Grandma's doing just fine, don't worry too much. Focus on your studies. When I came back from that flood of memories, I found Zhang Yikai standing in front of me. I was still a little dazed. He looked distant and cold, but just as I turned to leave, he suddenly called out. Hey! I glanced back at him. I have a name, you know. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His face quickly turned red, eyes flickering with panic and frustration. Maybe my name was still a little too unfamiliar for his awkward tongue. After a long pause, he finally said, my reflection letter. So that's why he came today. He wanted his disciplinary write-up back. Thanks for that day, I said, smiling. As for the letter, I forgot to bring it. Zhang Yikai huffed, like he'd just found my weak spot. You broke your promise. I nodded, smiling gently. Yes. It's all my fault. He froze. Before he could say anything, I added, how about I treat you to a meal to make up for it? As soon as the words left my mouth, red bloomed from his neck to the tips of his ears. I don't need you to pay. I have plenty of money. Sunlight filtered through the leaves and fell across his blushing face. He looked like it was his first time ever talking to a girl. Bye for now. See you next time. I waved and walked out of the grove. Just as I stepped out, I heard someone call my name. Xiao Dinghuai stood there, tall and slender. A couple of dried leaves clung to his shoulders. He didn't even notice them. Who knew how long he'd been standing there? His voice was hoarse. You and Ikai. He murmured. No wonder, after you died, he lost his mind. As I walked past, he reached out to grab my hand. But I dodged him. I looked at Xiao Dinghuai and said plainly, this time around, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Let's just get that straight now. Given this second chance at life, all I wanted to do was focus on the university entrance exam and take good care of Grandma. Yes, part of me wanted revenge. But right now, nothing had happened yet. And I was going to make sure it stayed that way. I didn't have any evidence, not yet. Xiao Dinghuai's eyes widened. He finally realized. He wasn't the only one who had been reborn. He was smart. If he hadn't been, he wouldn't have been able to leech off me in the last life just to claw his way into Beijing. Maybe he had already suspected something. He just didn't want to believe it. After all, only if I stayed just as naive and clueless as before would he get the chance to fool me again. Zhang Wenjing. I regret it. Oh, I said coolly. Do you regret helping Qiao Jia fabricate false evidence? He fell silent. After a while, his eyes turned red. I really regret it. After you died, I couldn't sleep. I finally realized my feelings, that the one I truly liked was you. I stared at him without emotion. Unmoved. Let him act. Let him perform. You're just scared, I said coldly. You did something terrible. Of course you're afraid of ghosts coming to claim your life. No. Have you read the love letter I wrote for you? This time, I really wrote it for you. I smiled faintly. Too bad I'm no longer interested in reading it. But he didn't give up. What about all the beautiful moments we shared? They mean nothing, I replied. Like seaweed, just floating debris. And they weren't beautiful at all. It was just me exhausting myself to help you succeed, shouting why. Even $1 million tutor wouldn't have been as devoted as I was. That night, I dreamed of what happened after I died in my last life. Xiao Jia had taken my place and entered the lab. She was triumphant, full of pride and smugness. But in front of Xiao Dinghuai, she pretended to be racked with guilt and anxiety. Her peaceful days didn't last. Jiang Yikai appeared, bringing a team of investigators to re-examine the scene. Xiao Jia panicked a little, but reassured herself. She had already cleaned up the evidence, and her mother had hired someone to handle the aftermath. But Yikai was relentless, like a man possessed. He hounded her with questions until she completely lost her temper. Her once sweet demeanor shattered. She began snapping at Xiao Dinghuai, and soon, their relationship unraveled. Under her mother's arrangement, Xiao Jia went abroad, leaving Xiao Dinghuai behind. After that, he suffered from severe insomnia. He'd jolt awake in the middle of nightmares, calling my name. He started spending long hours staring blankly, lost in thought. Sometimes, he would sneak off to visit my grave. In front of my tombstone, he'd pour his heart out. Wenjing, you'll forgive me, won't you? Wenjing, if you saw me like this, you'd feel sorry for me, right? You love me so much. It was me who lost you. Zhang Wenjing. 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 He'd call my name again and again, until my head throbbed in pain. The next morning, when I woke up, my mind was still ringing. It almost threw off my performance for the second mock exam. Almost. In the end, I still came out on top. When I turned down after the results were posted, Xiao Jia was right behind me. She didn't have time to mask her expression. Her face twisted with the same viciousness I remembered from the rooftop in my past life. The school would pick one student to receive a guaranteed admission based on the average of 3 mock exams. She'd already lost to me twice. In the previous life, she lost the third as well. But back then, because of Xiao Dinghuai, I had given up. I still remember him holding me tightly, whispering, Wenjing, I can't bear to be apart from you. I won't get into Beijing. I don't want you to leave me. I had stayed quiet. Didn't you say you liked me? Didn't you say I once helped your grandmother? I don't remember exactly what it was, but it happened, right? You owe me. Repay me by staying. Don't go to Beijing. When I heard that, I couldn't hide my shock. My mind was spinning. I'm not someone who forgets kindness, gratitude, and dreams, love and future. I wrestled with it for a long time before I finally made my choice. Fine. Nanjing University is good too. I'd be closer to Grandma. Of course, I still remembered that debt. But this time around, with a second chance at life, doubt had crept in. Was he really the one who helped us back then? Was that scrawny, scholarly boy really him? Just a few days left until the third mock exam. Now that Xiao Dinghuai was no longer in my way, I was curious to see what Xiao Jia would do. But surprisingly, nothing happened. The sun was gentle, like the quiet warmth of youth. Simple, peaceful. But maybe, that peace was just the eerie calm before a storm. Sure enough, on the day results were announced, Chen Shuang looked at me in disbelief. Xiao Jia, ranked first. Almost perfect scores. No way. Did she also relive her past? No, I didn't think so. Last night, the surveillance system in the academic office had suddenly gone down. But before it did, the camera captured a blurry figure. Based on the shape, it looked like a man. Rumors of someone stealing the exam spread like wildfire. In the hallway, as I passed Xiao Jia, Chen Shuang nudged me with a knowing glance. She whispered with curiosity. Well, it's pretty obvious who benefited from all this. Based on the average of 3 mock exams, Xiao Jia now ranked me. Chen Shuang fumed with injustice on my behalf. She thought she was whispering, but Xiao Jia's glare said otherwise. I cut her off. Don't speak without evidence. But every action leaves a trace. The school tried to contact the night guard on duty that evening, but he was gone. His rented room was empty. Neighbors said he had already returned to his hometown. The top 100 leaderboard was removed from the bulletin board. The air around campus was growing heavier, like a storm was brewing. And just then, after disappearing for a while, Xiao Dinghuai came looking for me again. He seemed different. He no longer had the arrogant, smug look he once wore. Xiao Dinghuai cautiously tried to approach me, but I stepped back immediately. His face was full of guilt. Wenjing. I'm sorry. Xiao Jia forced me. She had to be first this time. The exam was too important. I stared at him, stunned. Then looked again, really looked. Was he insane? I couldn't believe it. So the person who stole the exam was him. Maybe, just maybe, Xiao Jia had always been his one true love in both lives. In my past life, after watching the interview, I had wanted to find Xiao Dinghuai and demand answers. But he blocked me immediately. I had to corner him at the teacher appreciation party. I just wanted the truth. I wanted to understand what he'd been thinking. Under the curious gazes of the crowd, he didn't answer right away. Someone nearby sneered. Zhang Wenjing, do you really think you're on the same level as Xiao Jia? So what if you're smart? Out in the real world, brains mean nothing. Xiao Jia is the daughter of a business tycoon. What about your dad? Oh wait, you don't have one. I acted like I didn't hear a thing. I just stared at Xiao Dinghuai. I only wanted one thing, a proper explanation. He smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. His eyes looked like a demon's. I saw it clearly, that disgust and contempt in his gaze. And my heart grew heavy. So tired. What did he say back then? All right. He had looked so helpless, pretending like he had no choice. Wenjing, don't blame me. The one I've always loved was Xiao Jia. Yes, I used you. But I had no other option. Besides, you volunteered, didn't you? Looking back, even that so-called true love was full of calculation. So in this life, the man who claimed to love me had once again bent over backwards for Xiao Jia. Love. What a joke. She gave me 800,000. I couldn't say no. One day, when you're out in the real world, you'll understand. But right now, you're too naive. He looked at me, gentle and intense. No matter what university you go to, my feelings for you won't change. I couldn't hold back, I laughed. Shouting why, my feelings haven't changed either. From the moment I was reborn, I've been very clear about one thing. I don't want anything to do with you. Best wishes to you and Xiao Jia. I hope you live happily ever after. As soon as the words left my lips, Xiao Dinghuai's face turned ghostly pale. I hope you never show up in front of me again, I said. I turned and walked away, without hesitation. He was left standing there, stunned. But before even one class period had passed, I was summoned to the principal's office. Xiao Jia and Zhang Yikai were already there. I had a feeling I'd be seeing Xiao Dinghuai again soon. Mr. Jiang and Xiao Jia's mother had also arrived. The office was packed. Zhang Yikai stood with clenched fists. When he saw me, His expression flickered with a trace of embarrassment. Smack! A loud slap rang out, right across Jiang Yikai's face. You ungrateful brat. We've spoiled you rotten, and you dare steal an exam. His father roared. His stepmother gently tugged at his sleeve. Her tone was soft, but her words sharp and loaded with implication. Don't get angry. Ikai probably just wanted a high score to make you proud. I never asked him to do that. Mr. Jiang snapped. I don't need him to suddenly become a genius. I just want him to stop causing trouble. Jiang Yikai's face turned crimson. He tried to speak. No, it's not. But his stepmother cut him off smoothly. Ikai, say less, all right. You'll tire yourself. You've always stuttered since you were a child. He glanced at me, just once. That look, like a stray dog, dragged through the mud. Desperate. Powerless. He lowered his head, clearly wanting to disappear. But his tall frame made it impossible to hide. Everyone could see him, his red-rimmed eyes, his shame. And I found myself wondering, why was he the one taking the fall for stealing the exam? Xiao Jia lifted her chin slightly. Since the culprit's been found, may we leave now? Her mother spoke up, sounding annoyed. I have a meeting to get to. Next time, please verify things before dragging us in. My time is valuable. The teacher who had called me in turned and said, Zhang Wenjing, you can go. At first, we thought you might have seen something, since you often study late at school, but now that the matter's clear. I looked down at the exam paper tossed on the floor. Jiang Yikai's name was on it. The score, just barely passing. It was torn and stomped on, like Jiang Yikai himself, like the mark still burning on his cheek. So that's what happened. Both Jiang Yikai and Xiao Jia had shown major improvement this time. Naturally, they became suspects. And now, he had become the scapegoat for her. Was it because he couldn't defend himself? Yes, he stuttered. But that hadn't always been the case. He grew up with no one by his side. No one to teach him how to speak. As a child, when he finally worked up the courage to talk to other kids, they laughed at him. Their words, innocent and cruel, cut deep. Stammer boy. That nickname followed him for years. He stopped talking, then stopped trying, because no one ever stood up for him. In that moment, I realized, Jiang Yikai might be even more pitiful than me. I still had grandma. He had no one. Later, when his stepmother got pregnant, there wasn't even space left for him in the house. She sold his stutter story to the press like a scandal. Wait. Seeing Xiao Jia and her mother about to leave, I stepped forward. My voice rang out clearly in the not-so-large office, and the room instantly fell silent. I smiled. Sir, I know who stole the exam paper. I have a recording. Xiao Jia froze. I'd like to ask you to call Xiao Dinghuai from class 11. Xiao Jia spun around, panic flaring in her eyes. While waiting for Xiao Dinghuai to arrive, I turned toward Jiang Yikai's father. Uncle, why don't you ask Yikai? Hear what he has to say? Maybe it was the confidence in my voice, but Mr. Jiang finally turned to his son. Yikai's stepmother chuckled softly. Making mistakes and correcting them is a good thing. Yikai has always been a handful, but Mr. Jiang frowned, as if recalling something. What's the point of asking? It's just excuses. I ignored them. My eyes were locked onto Jiang Yikai's. Our gazes met, and in that instant, all other sounds faded away. The shouting from his father, the sarcastic pity in his stepmother's voice, none of it mattered. Slowly, Yikai's eyes turned red, but there was no longer any fear in them. It wasn't me. His words made Mr. Jiang narrow his eyes. It wasn't me who stole the test. I didn't do it. His voice grew firmer, clearer. I didn't do it. He spoke more fluently now, each word stronger than the last. Mr. Jiang's face shifted, hesitation flickered in his eyes. Yikai's stepmother tried to chime in again, but I cut her off. It wasn't Yikai. He's been studying hard these past few months. He even asked me a few questions. I turned to the teachers, explaining calmly. Unlike in my past life, where Xiao Dinghuai constantly took up all my time, Jiang Yikai had always been cautious not to interrupt my studies. He worried too much, honestly. His questions were far too simple. Helping him had almost become a relaxing break for me. Another teacher interjected. But he's still our top suspect. He spends all his time on campus and rarely returns to the dorm. He's made clear progress, I replied. If you don't believe me, you can test him right now. Yikai straightened up, looking at the teacher with resolve. Like he finally had someone standing behind him. The adults in the room exchanged looks. They understood now who was lying and who wasn't. One teacher glanced at Xiao Jia's mother, lips parting slightly, then shut again. All eyes turned to Xiao Jia. Under the cold fluorescent lights, her forehead was slick with sweat. Xiao Jia's mother gave me a frosty glare. What's the meaning of this? A girl your age already learning to protect boys. Her gaze was icy, sharp enough to cut. Her face resembled Xiao Jia's almost exactly. Same cold pride, same thinly veiled cruelty. For a moment, it felt like I'd returned to that rooftop. My fingernails dug into my palms. Ikai noticed something was off. He looked at me in concern, stepping forward instinctively. I shook my head slightly, stopping him. I wasn't afraid anymore. No, I'd never been afraid. Not of the drunk men who hurt my grandmother. Not of Xiao Jia when she pushed me off the roof. And definitely not of Xiao Jia's mother's death stare now. They were the guilty ones. They were the ones who should be afraid. I smiled at Zhang Yikai, silently telling him I was fine. He looked just like a nervous little pup. Without thinking, I mouthed the words, "Good boy." A second later, the tips of his ears turned crimson again. Finally, Shouting Huai arrived. He pushed open the door and stepped into the room. A month had passed since the scandal. Shouting Huai had been expelled. As for Xiao Jia, the school gave her a light punishment because she was preparing for college entrance exams. Of course, that was just the excuse. The real reason: money. With her mother's influence, that disciplinary record would vanish in no time. At first, Xiao Jia and Shouting Huai thought I was bluffing. They didn't think I actually had the audio. But I did. And when I played the recording, every smug word, every calculated lie, they became a joke. Even proof of the money transfers and their travel logs were retrievable. It was just a matter of whether someone bothered to look. They say once burned, twice wise. After living one life, the first thing I bought in this one was a voice recorder pen. Every time I met with Xiao Dinghuai or Xiao Jia alone, I recorded everything. But contrary to my expectations, Xiao Jia hadn't come back to school for days. According to Qin Shuang, the unofficial news source of our class, Xiao Jia had her leg broken by her father and was shipped overseas. The Qiu family had completely abandoned her. A few classmates whose families had business ties with the Qiu family said Xiao Jia had a half-brother. His mother was eyeing the position of Qiu's current wife and seized the opportunity to crush Xiao Jia. Mr. Qiu, who barely finished elementary school, used to brag constantly about Xiao Jia's achievements at business dinners. So when the truth came out, he flew into a rage. She had completely humiliated him. On top of that, Zhang Yikai's father, now feeling guilty, lashed out at the Qiu family too. Now, the Qiu family had fallen from grace. The wealth and prestige were crumbling. To be fair, Xiao Jia really had been brilliant at her studies. But maybe it was her upbringing that made her so controlling, so ruthless. I didn't agree with how Mr. Qiu handled it. But I couldn't bring myself to pity Xiao Jia either. Before I knew it, the university entrance exams had arrived. June, bright, heated. Half of it was maturity, half of it, chaos. Half was reflection, the other, hope. This exam closed the curtain on our busy, unaware youth. Not everyone is born into a family like Xiao Jia's. But everyone can give it their all. Years from now, you'll realize. The college entrance exam was the most fair chance you ever got to change your life. Knowledge may not change fate entirely, but a score you've earned with your own hands. That can open the path to a future you deserve. As I walked out of the exam hall, Grandma was waving at me from the gate. The scent of pancakes drifted through the air. Above, clouds burned orange at the edge of the horizon. Summer was arriving. Zhang Yikai approached. He greeted my grandma politely. His stutter had improved. He was more open now. "You still owe me a meal," he whispered quickly while Grandma looked the other way. "You invite. I'll pay," he added in a rush. I took a bite of my pancake and smiled. "Deal." We walked a bit more. Grandma glanced at Yikai, eyes thoughtful. Then she said she spotted a neighbor, Mrs. Truong, and walked off to say hi. The moment she was gone, Yikai grew visibly more nervous. But I had plenty of patience. In the end, he seemed to have summoned all his courage. "I want to go to the same city as you." I suddenly remembered the words Zhang Yikai never got to say to me in our past life. It must have been this very sentence. All right. Extra story. The Insecure Puppy, University version. Zhang Yikai never liked his own name. His mother passed away early. After her death, his biological father showed little grief. Less than a week later, his stepmother moved into the house. As if Mr. Jiang had been waiting for that moment all along. Back then, His father was an immigrant. His mother had still allowed Jiang Yikai to take his father's surname, but that wasn't enough for Mr. Jiang. He even added the character Yeet from the Jiang family's generational name into Yikai's given name, as if to declare it was some kind of family glory, some unspoken rule. That's why, ever since he was little, Jiang Yikai hated the awkward name that was hard to write. Years later, when Zhang Wenkai asked him why he secretly liked her during high school, he blushed and said, "I've got really sharp hearing. Back then, only you ever called me Jiang Yikai." Everyone else said Jiang Yikai, with the added character. No one ever cared what name he wrote on his notebooks, on his test papers, or the attendance lists. Of course, there were many other reasons. By that time, he could already speak fluently and just wanted to talk to her nonstop, which was why, many times, when they were being all lovey-dovey, he'd get kicked off the bed by Wenkai, but he'd still apologize and pull her into his arms. And before long, he'd start whispering things again that made her face turn red. "I miss when you were still shy," she would grumble, biting him. She didn't understand why he was getting more and more shameless. But she didn't know. A stray dog, once loved, turns proud. He remembered his second year in university. Back then, he was still incredibly shy. Just one glance from her would make him freeze up. Whenever he didn't have class, he would go to Beijing University to find her. She'd be working in the lab. He'd wait outside, not daring to call or text. Sometimes he'd wait until midnight, just to pretend he had just arrived when she finally came out. "Want to grab a late-night bite?" He'd ask casually. She was usually too tired and declined. He'd leave, disappointed, but never complained. But after a few times, she seemed to catch on. "Did you wait a long time? You haven't eaten, right? You like me, don't you?" He denied it over and over. But the red ears, the darting eyes, the clumsy limbs, they betrayed him completely. Luckily, Zhang Wenkai didn't expose this foolish boy. Instead, she turned down and said yes to a date with another guy in her lab. He heard from others that they made a good match. Both were professor favorites. That day, he hid in a corner and cried his heart out. But suddenly, a familiar pair of shoes stopped in front of him. "Didn't you say you didn't like me? Didn't you say you wouldn't come?" He wiped his tears in a panic, but couldn't stop crying. He wanted to deny it again, but it all felt ridiculous. Eventually, he broke down. So what? If someone smart and good-looking like him couldn't win your heart, why would you ever like someone like me, someone who stutters? After entering university, a few people had confessed to her, but she always turned them down. He remembered how, in their final year of high school, she rejected even the school's golden boy, Xiao Dinghuai. Although Xiao Dinghuai later got expelled and possibly didn't even get into university, there were rumors that Zhang Wenkai had always had a crush on him. Jiang Yikai was nothing like Xiao Dinghuai. The other guy was slim, with that frail beauty look, the kind people called campus prince. But Jiang Yikai was tall and broad-shouldered, maybe from his mother's genes. All his uncles were tall too. He didn't want to be rejected. He didn't even want to lose the chance to be her friend. But in a moment of recklessness, he blurted everything out. He regretted it so much he could barely breathe. He buried his head in his hands, tears falling nonstop. It's over. It's all over. Still, he held on to a sliver of hope. After all, Zhang Wenkai had helped him before. Maybe, just maybe, he held a special place in her heart. And then, he heard her say, "I really don't like people who stutter." In that moment, Jiang Yikai's world turned black and white. His limbs froze, trembling. His chest went cold. He tried to comfort himself. It's okay, at least I can still watch her from afar." But the next second, she said, "But I like you. Whether you stutter or not doesn't matter. I like you." And so, Jiang Yikai started dating. He couldn't stop bragging to his roommates. "Did you guys hear? My girlfriend said she likes me." His roommates rolled their eyes, but quickly grew curious. Since he still spoke slowly, they couldn't get many details out of him. One roommate teased, "The general has fallen in love. Half the girls on campus will be heartbroken." He didn't understand at first. Much later, he realized. He was actually quite popular. When that finally sank in, he remembered something from years ago. Back in 10th grade, a girl had confessed to him. He got so scared he ran away. Later, rumors spread that he was a playboy, a heartbreaker who dumped pretty girls. Years later, he realized it had all been slander. He wasn't angry, but he did wonder why Zhang Wenkai never asked it out any of it. She never showed jealousy or suspicion. One day, she gave him a side glance and said, "You think I'm stupid?" Zhang Wenkai thought he was the foolish one. How could she believe an insecure little puppy like him was some kind of ladies' man? Hearing her say that, he broke into a silly grin. So it wasn't that she didn't care. It was because she trusted him. He was always searching for proof that she liked him, even in the tiniest of details. Even when she was buried in research, spending almost all her time in the lab, he had gotten smarter. He always found small signs and smiled to himself in happiness. The clearest one, when he got a haircut. She saw the scar on his head and asked where it came from. He didn't remember exactly. Maybe back in 9th grade, during summer break, a drunk man hit him. Back then, he was still skinny and frail. He hadn't dyed his hair or gotten piercings yet. Maybe that's why the guy mistook him for someone else. He'd been beaten badly, blood everywhere. Just then, some students passed by. "You jerks!" Ganging up on one person. A group of teens rushed over, shouting, "Why? Oh, sorry, wrong person. Don't worry, man. We'll help you out." Only after seeing his bloodied face did they realize they had mistaken him for someone else. The whole thing was years ago. Zhang Yikai barely remembered. But Zhang Wencai's expression was a little distant that day. He watched her closely and said cautiously, "If you don't like the scar, I could get it removed." Before he finished, she silenced him with a kiss. So soft. She must have been heartbroken for him. She really, really loved him. And he loved her, too. He wanted to hide her away in his own secret base. Kai, stop whining. Say it properly. Zhang Wenkai knew exactly what this clingy puppy was up to. Zhang Yikai felt his heart swell with sweetness. The end.